Few inventions in history have had a profound and enduring influence on the world's development as that of the invention of motor vehicles. Cars have influenced businesses and economies in ways no one could have foreseen. Automobiles are regarded as a social game changer that has impacted all facets of life. People have been able to move from one point to the other in more comfortable and quicker ways. On January 29, 1886, Karl Benz, a German inventor, applied for a patent for his gas-powered vehicle. The patent number 37435 may be regarded as the birth certificate for the first automobile in the history of mankind. According to information on the Mercedes-Benz website, the three-wheeled motorcar model number 1 was a one-cylinder, two-stroke unit which ran for the first time on New Year's Eve of 1879. Even though Zambia did not directly participate in the global vehicle revolution, the first vehicle on Zambian soil is said to have arrived in the country in the late 1800s. This vehicle, whose make we cannot independently verify, was owned by Harry Scott Thorncroft in the then Northern Rhodesia. He was a government magistrate. Since then, cars have adopted various technologies such as steam-powered engines, fuel engines, hydrogen engines, and hybrid engines. The industry has now moved to full electric vehicles inspired by the need to move to cleaner energy sources. Toyota is the world's largest manufacturer of vehicles. The company's office in Zambia spoke to us on what is driving the emerging electric vehicle industry.
Electric vehicles is a big buzzword in the automotive industry at the moment. In terms of production and actual consumption, it accounts for about 2% of vehicles in the first world. And when I mean first world, I mean the really high-end developed worlds like Finland, European Union, Australia, and probably the Americas. That's where there's been a very big push from government, where they've had a lot of incentives in terms of charging ports, legislation to ban internal combustion engine or second-hand vehicles being bought into those markets.
Electric vehicles use rechargeable batteries that are made from lithium, nickel, and copper. Cobalt has also emerged as the vital ingredient of the shift to a lower carbon energy car system. Cobalt ensures cathodes do not easily overheat or catch fire. This helps extend the life of batteries, which automakers usually guarantee for 8 to 10 years.
The lithium-ion battery also has a lot of cobalt in it, which regulates the temperature in which the lithium is going to operate. So in it itself, it's diverse in that way because there's lithium as well as cobalt, and most of these minerals are found in Africa, and they're mostly concentrated in Zambia as well as the Congo itself.
The University of Zambia, UNZA, says the use of cobalt in electronic goods, particularly the rechargeable batteries used in electric vehicles and other forms of energy storage, means interest in it is growing as the electrification of the global energy system continues to gather pace. UNZA minerals expert Jewit Masinja from the School of Mines has explained the elements in cobalt that makes it favorable for use in electric car batteries. Dr. Masinja says cathodes contain and deliver high energy density, allowing the battery to hold enough energy to propel a vehicle.
If you look at an electric storage battery that is used, and in particular the lithium-ion battery, then the elements that are required there are primarily graphite, cobalt, and lithium, as the term suggests. And the process, of course, of storage means that you put electric charge inside the battery, and that electric charge stays there. And the basis on which you have that is the polarization, meaning that you charge some of your metal with one charge, positive, and then you charge the other one with negative. And when you connect, the movement of the charge between the two terminals is what generates your electricity.
Reserves of cobalt are concentrated heavily in a few countries. The Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Zambia is home to half of the world's known resources and currently accounts for around 70% of global production. As demand for cobalt continues to rise, efforts are underway to create a cobalt value chain between Zambia and the DRC. Recently, the two countries held a bilateral meeting to sign agreements which will see the setting up of electric vehicle battery manufacturing plants. The two countries were represented at the highest level.
Such a rich continent, yet riddled with poor people, is unacceptable. And these steps, Mr. President, and to our two peoples, are practical in taking out the shame out of our people, who God gave so many resources. Them, of course, as human beings, but these minerals. Why should our people go to bed without food? Why should school-going children not be in school? It's because for years this continent has not taken responsibility
to create the value for the production of electric batteries in our respective countries. So this day may be an example for all African countries. Now, if we can put our energies together in order to push Africa in the economic area.
Dr. Masinja says the partnership between the two countries creates an opportunity for value addition in the mining sector.
There is an opportunity for us not just to sell our, like we have done over the years, our copper as finished copper in the form of anodes or cathodes, and then export them for other countries to go and refine to consumable form. That is, for example, we export our manganese, we export our cobalt, and then somebody else produces the battery, which then comes back here and we install in our vehicles and so on. What we are now saying is that we can go up the value chain ourselves, meaning we can actually produce the batteries. Now that's where the opportunity lies.
And Toyota Zambia says the conversation between the two countries to actively take part in the electric vehicle EV battery industry is an exciting moment which has the potential to overturn the economic tides of the country.
We might not have demand for EV vehicles currently in Zambia, but these vehicles are being produced and consumed in other markets. So we can begin to participate in the industry through this policy initiative that the government has taken up, which anyone with a reasonable mind needs to applaud and support. And obviously from the industry perspective, it's exciting, it's a breath of fresh air, it shows you that the country is ready to be part of the conversation for the future and current technologies.
Boniface Zulu, an engineer in new energy trained in China, wants the government to utilize their available expertise in the country.
We do have the expertise. We have got 7 new energy science and technology engineers already in the country who are Zambians. And if you look at our seniors that are in Uganda making the Kayula bus, already they've started. Those were our seniors in China. Then you look at other seniors that were in Ghana as well as Nigeria that already spearheaded. But we are at the same university with those people. But the Zambian sector or the Zambian government has not fully utilized us. It's now time for them to utilize us and put the expertise on the table.
Skills, I believe, are there, but they are dissipated. The issue there is the fact that, first of all, we have not been, as Zambia per se, concentrating on the issue of actually designing and possibly thinking about the manufacturing of batteries. That's not something that's been at the top of our minds. And so the skills and the capacity in terms of knowledge among our lecturers, among our researchers and so on in the country is there. There is an understanding, there is a knowledge, there's no doubt about it. But these folks are sitting in different, shall we say, here at the University of Zambia, in different departments, okay? And so if we were to say to ourselves, let us fully focus on the idea of designing and then subsequently being part of the manufacturing of batteries, then we would need to bring our resources together, and I'm talking about human resources together.
The Zambia tax platform ZTP has hinted that if well handled, the manufacturing of EV batteries will be a game changer in Zambia.
There are opportunities when it comes to how we can contribute towards the resources which are being used to produce these electric-powered vehicles. As a country, we have not been producing vehicles to start with, and in the last 50 decades or so that we have been a player in terms of beneficiaries on the consumption end of fuel-powered vehicles, we have not been producing anything, not even the components that are used to produce these fuel-powered vehicles. And now we have got a new dynamic, which is the electric-powered vehicles, and this comes with some opportunities and also maybe some challenges that we may talk about.
While Zambia has actively started preparing for the EV battery industry, uptake of electric vehicles in Africa's second highest copper producer remain extremely low.
In terms of demand or interest from people who want to buy electric vehicles, we've not had any inquiries. What we have noted is people who import in grey vehicles some people would bring in hybrid vehicles. So we have seen a couple of hybrid vehicles coming to our operation where people are looking for technical assistance. We ourselves have had a hybrid vehicle, a Prius, which we've been using since 2011. Yes, obviously as part of the research and development to feed into the manufacturer. So a hybrid vehicle is a vehicle that will have both an internal combustion engine and an electric, either a battery or a fuel cell. So it uses both depending on the driving condition and the speed at which you're driving. So it switches between using electric or using internal combustion engine.
The Road Transport and Safety Agency, RTSA, are in charge of registering vehicles in Zambia. RTSA is also tasked with the responsibility of keeping records related to the transport sector in the country. Agency Head of Public Relations Frederick Muwanga says as of May 23, 2022, Zambia only had one full electric vehicle.
We have got about 3 tricycles that have been registered and under the RTSA database. We have got 7 motorcycles that are registered as electric motorcycles, and we have got 1 electric vehicle that is registered under the RTSA database. And in addition to that, we have got 3 hybrid vehicles.
RTSA says even though the country does not have adequate guidelines to respond to EVs, the agency has already started preparing.
We cannot underplay the importance of technology, and there is no doubt that these vehicles will slowly start finding themselves in our country. And with that in mind, that in the back of our mind, as responsible institutions, we have started preparing accordingly, putting up the regulatory framework, the standards, and against that background, we have started this conversation with the African Organization for Standardization, ASRO, as well as other stakeholders such as the Zambia Bureau of Standard.
Fuel-powered cars across the world, Zambia inclusive, are among the highest contributors to toxic greenhouse gases. Vehicles release more than 1.6 billion tons of greenhouse gases, GHGs, into the atmosphere each year, mostly in the form of carbon dioxide, contributing to global climate change. Electric vehicles, on the other hand, release zero emissions. And the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA, says electric vehicles will contribute to a cleaner and safer environment.
So we have pollution arising from exhaust emissions, and some of these pollutants like volatile organic compounds like benzene, they are known cancer-causing agents. So while the vehicle is running, we are emitting this from the tailpipe, hence polluting the environment and the air we breathe. Then we have the bigger ones, the oxides of carbon. These will fall in 2 classes. We have the black carbon, which basically is the soot, which falls to the ground, and then we have the airborne one, the CO and CO2. These are the bigger climate greenhouse gases. So the dependence on fossil-powered transport is a major contributor to climate change. It's important that we start to move to a clean transport.
The Energy Regulation Board (ERB) is a statutory body charged with the responsibility of regulating the energy sector in Zambia. ERB says they are pleased with the indication that electric vehicles will be utilizing clean energy.
Climate change is real, and it has adversely affected how we live, how we conduct our business. So the coming in of electric vehicles is a huge milestone. And of course, just to add that even in the presence of unpredictable spiking prices in fuels, electric vehicles offer an alternative in the movement of people, as well as running our businesses. So it's quite key that it has come at this time.
But Toyota Zambia is of the view that the country needs to explore other energy sources that are equally environmentally friendly before looking to EVs.
I think the starting point would be with the internal combustion engines that we have to begin to get those that are more environmentally friendly. If you look at the transition of the phases that Europe has gone through the Euro 1 up to currently Euro 6, we could need to go through the same transition. And what do I mean? In terms of, for example, if you look at the newer vehicles, they emit less CO2 into the carbon than older versions. So the starting point would be to incentivize people to bring in current model vehicles because they are more environmentally friendly, and then begin to discourage the use of importation of 10, 15-year-old vehicles, because these vehicles that we're bringing in cheaply are those that are being dumped from the countries where they have advanced into electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles need a 240 volts charging source to power up. According to ERB and the RTSA, Zambia does not have any public charging bay at the moment. The two institutions, however, say they are already preparing for the new industry.
There is no one single charging bay in the country. The people that are using these electric vehicles or motor cycles are using their personal, maybe they have it at their places of work or at home. But once we have a lot of these vehicles in the country, we need to invest in that infrastructure. So the private sector should be on the lookout. Just like we have filling stations, that's the way the structure should always be in terms of charging bays.
We have identified some of the key stakeholders. And just to mention a few, some of the key stakeholders, of course, we know that the vehicles are managed by RATSA, or the Ministry of Transport. And they have a key role to play. But also we realize that these vehicles will require charging facilities. Where will these facilities be placed or located for optimal operation? So we felt that the National Council of Construction was very key, of course, as well as the Ministry of Infrastructure and Urban Development, just to make sure that as we roll out these facilities, the charging facilities, they comply to the building codes, such that in future the building standards include that aspect of charging facilities.
And ZEMA has also started adjusting to accommodate the new industry.
We are laying the foundation for an overall transition. We are in discussion with the Global Environment Facility to provide for financing so that we support the transport industry in terms of charging stations, such as at the filling station or even at malls, workplaces.
The Energy Regulation Board will soon be convening a meeting with industry stakeholders to discuss the EV industry.
We developed a concept paper to help us see how we could deal with this new emerging issue, so that we provide guidance in the deployment of electric vehicles. So what we have done is that we've planned for a stakeholder engagement, because we believe that these electric vehicles require a comprehensive approach in terms of deployment.
Toyota Zambia is concerned on the possible pressure which an influx of electric vehicles on Zambian roads would have on the national electricity grid.
If you look at full electric vehicles, they need a lot of infrastructure support. From the electricity, we need a lot of electricity in the country. Currently, we have deficit, so we're trying to deal with just supplying to the residential homes. Now, imagine if we have the 3,000 vehicles that need to charge. That's extra burden on the grid, so we need to double our electric production capacity. That's going to take some time.
But ERB says the country has been making huge investments to increase the national electricity generation capacity, coupled with other alternative sources of energy.
There's a lot of interest, Mr. Mkwaya, in terms of investing in the energy sector, and we will be seeing the capacities increase to be able to meet that demand. And currently, the utility is developing a number of projects. You are aware of the Kafua Gorge Lower, the 750 megawatts. So all that and other renewable energy sources. So we should be able to be responsive to that demand.
The imminent presence of electric vehicles on Zambian roads also means that the country needs to have a cadre of skilled people in different areas such as artificial intelligence and advanced electronics.
If you look at all this technology, there's a lot of electronics that's involved. There's a lot of AI, so data analysis and all those things that it comes with. There's a lot of electronic engineering that comes in. So you're almost moving away from heavy dependence on mechanical to electronics and computer engineering. So we need to make that transition for our technical people.
The adoption of electric vehicles, EVs, is gaining traction across the world. This is because of the low running costs, as they have less moving parts for maintenance and are very environmentally friendly, as they use little or no fossil fuels, such as petrol or diesel. Regardless of the pros attached to EVs, prospects for Zambia to fully embrace these vehicles still remain very low.
Within a generation, we should be able to get there as Africa, provided it would require a lot of government support in terms of building the infrastructure, because as mentioned, full electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles are there in the world. They've been there for many years. What is needed is infrastructure to support, and that will require government policy, goodwill, and also education.
Maybe incentives could be put in place to ensure that the importation of electric vehicles reduces the duty, and in that case we see that the price goes down, because then you'll be paying lower taxes when importing electric vehicles. I think in 2020 there was that pronouncement by government.
As things stand, the future of the automotive sector looks electric. And now that the news of electric vehicles is stale, and third world countries like Zambia are also participating in the revolution, industry engineers are turning their attention to new groundbreaking transportation technology. Industry experts are now looking to the concept of driverless vehicles. This therefore poses a challenge to Zambian experts to position themselves and prepare for this revolutionary sector.